Good afternoon. Welcome to Richmond Middle School's 12th Annual Veterans Day Assembly. Mr. Burtmeyer and I want to welcome our guests, our parents, our veterans today, helping us celebrate Veterans Day, which we understand is Monday, but we're honoring it today so that you can enjoy, veterans can enjoy all those festivities that will be presented to you on Monday. A quick explanation of what Veterans Day is. Armistead Day, it was declared the official day. World War I ended in 1918 on the 11th month, on the 11th day at the 11th hour, which would be November 11 at 11 a.m. Armistead means a ceasefire or resolution between two opposing sides. This day was commemorated year after year to honor those who participated in the war and offer thanks to those who have helped bring peace. In 1938, November Armistead Day became the first legal national holiday. It took until 1954 to be dedicated as Veterans Day to honor all of those veterans. So with that being said, I want to introduce some special guests today and those that helped make this possible. First, our wonderful band under the direction of Mrs. Shack. Excellent choir under the direction of Mr. Finley. And our wonderful accompanist, Mrs. Piccolo. And I will introduce our guest speakers here in a moment, but first our color guard today, Mr. John Einen. Mr. Merrill Rodman, Mr. Jim Galen, Mr. John McLeod, and from the auxiliary, Ms. Mary Rodman. James Coleman, color guard. Post the colors. Everyone, please rise. Now for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all. Amen.
and please stay standing. Gentlemen, please remove your caps as our band and choir sing the most beautiful song in the world, our Star Spangled Banner. may be seated. Roland Lowers will now introduce our first song.
We Honor You is a powerful original song that salutes those who serve. The words take us through the many wars from which many of our veterans have served. It just begins to express the gratitude we feel for those who fought for our freedom that many take for granted. For sacrifices made, for courage you display, we honor you.
Okay, now our first guest speaker today is a 1997 Richmond High School graduate. He was an E-5 gunner's mate in the United States Army Navy second class. He served in the Navy from 2001 to 2012. He currently works for the Department of Defense in Teltow, and he trains military personnel in weaponry. So let's give a nice Richmond welcome to Petty Officer Second Class Raymond Signory.
Okay, so I'm not a guest speaker, so bear with me here. This is overwhelming. I have never been asked to speak in front of people, and when I was asked to do this today, I figured it was just a bunch of kids. I see a lot of familiar faces out there. Being a 97 graduate, I went to school with some of your kids. And I guess one of the things that stuck out to me during the introduction was, what does it mean to be a veteran these days? There's a lot to it. During the time when I served, from 2001 to 2012, I think the hardest part was missing my children. And missing births, missing graduations, missing time with family, missing those first steps, the first snowball thrown. That's a lot of sacrifice for a person to go through. And then to be 3,000 miles away, fighting in a country in a war where you don't really know what the outcome is going to be. You don't know, these other people look at you, some like you, some don't. The biggest part, my biggest takeaway I had during my time serving was I served with 386 people and on a boat that was 450 feet long and 125 feet wide, and we lived together for 6 months. You learn a lot about yourself, you learn a lot about other people, cultures, ethnicities, what it takes to get along with someone you're not really comfortable with or familiar with, and to learn everyone's story. To do that on a ship and make it run smoothly so we can defend America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, it's a lot to do. It's a lot to put on a kid that's 22 years old. But, a lot of things that happened throughout my life, growing up, taking on wrestling, for instance, from Richmond, it teaches you a lot about yourself. It gives you a lot of self-respect. And you take back from what you've gone through and you apply that to your life as you walk through the military. And, today I stand in front of you. I just had, some people don't have it as lucky as others. And what you go through on your daily basis, coming through school, going into the military, if that's the route you're going to do, going to college, you just give it your all. That's all I have.
Thank you, Petty Officer Second Class Raymond Ziegler. And now, Brianna Albers, I had on here to introduce our next song.
God Bless America. America's unofficial national anthem was composed by an immigrant who left his home in Siberia for America when he was just 5 years old. Irving Berlin wrote the original version of God Bless America in 1918. In the fall of 1938, as the war was again threatening Europe, Irving Berlin revised his God Bless America from 20 years earlier to reflect a peace song. Singer Kate Smith introduced the revised God Bless America during her radio broadcast on Armistice Day in 1938. Enjoy the combined Richmond Middle School 7th and 8th grade band rendition of this patriotic peace song, God Bless America.
Our next guest speaker, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey A. Carruthers, is and was the Senior Aerospace Science Instructor at Anchor Bay High School and held that position since 2007. He served for over 21 years in the United States Air Force in instruction, command, procurement, logistics, and operations. Colonel Carruthers is an advanced instructor with 3 master's degrees, and he has earned the Outstanding Instructor Award for the 2016-17 school year. Let's give a warm RMS welcome to Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Carruthers.
Hello? Okay, the ones in the back, can you raise your hand if you can hear me? Okay, that's great. Because I wouldn't want to be here if I couldn't hear the person speak. I'd probably want to go to sleep. So. All right, first of all, I was talking to the kind hosts here today, and they told me, or I told them that I've lived in this area for 12 and a half years, and this is by far, the best veterans tribute or memorial that I've seen in any high school or middle school that I've been to, including Anchor Bay, which is where I teach. So please, let's give them a round of applause for speaking. I want to talk to you today on 2 subjects. First of all, what makes a veteran? It'll be real short, only going to be 2 items. And the second thing is going to be, what can we do to learn more about them? Okay, so the first thing I think that makes a veteran is they need to be a volunteer. They need to be a volunteer. Even those that were drafted, and if you're too young to know what drafted is, look it up. It's also known as conscription, okay? Especially during the Vietnam War, all right? Even those people have a high level of volunteerism, okay? Once they get in the military, their whole life is volunteering for things. Okay. The second characteristic that makes up a veteran that's common to all of them is commitment. A commitment to sacrifice. The first guest speaker told about when he was overseas and the things that he missed, the birthdays and things like that, and the births that he missed. Multiply that by a couple 100,000 people, and you see a lot of birthdays, a lot of weddings, a lot of birthdays and births that are missed. A lot of special days. They sacrifice pay. Many of you probably wouldn't know or don't know that during the Gulf War, when we had to activate a lot of the guardsmen and women, these people had other jobs where they were making a lot of money. When they received that letter or email or whatever they got that said, hey, guess what, Uncle Sam needs you, if they were a sole business owner, their business could have gone under. Or they take a huge pay cut. That's a nice, huge sacrifice on their part. Many times, especially in certain career fields like military working dogs, those folks stayed overseas for years at a time. Typically, it was a 6-month deployment, but they were so needed that they would stay there. So these sacrifices went on and on. So those are the 2 things that I think are common to veterans. Number 1, volunteerism, and number 2, a commitment, especially to sacrifice. So look around. If you see somebody that's much older than you, or in my case, just a little bit older than you, and they're not your teacher or an administrator, chances are they're a veteran. So before I leave you, what can we do to help learn more about these people? I have 4 things. Number 1, talk to them. Talk to them. These people have been around a lot. They've seen a lot. Even if it's not in the military, they've seen a lot and experienced a lot. Get to know them. We love to talk. Believe me, we love to talk. Might not be about the military, but we'll talk. We'll talk your ear off. Okay? Second, read. Okay? Read. Find a book about some kind of military history or event that you like. It could even be historical fiction. I brought just a few of the ones that I have read and I really like. This one's called Flyboys. It includes all about one of our presidents, George Bush, when he jumped out and parachuted out of a plane in the Pacific War of World War II. This one is called The Power of Patriotism. It's all about a speech written by Beth Chapman in 2003 that inspired many, many people to share that speech and join in that patriotism. This one is all about an escape in the Pacific from a prisoner of war camp. This one is all about the Tuskegee Airmen, African Americans that were not allowed to serve with white people, but yet they served by having their own Air Force within an Air Force, and it was extremely important that we had them. And last but not least, we actually had this gentleman as a guest speaker. His name is Russell McLogan, but it's all about him when he was 18 years old and found himself in an Army unit in World War II. The third thing that you could do is watch a movie. So if books aren't your thing, that's cool. Watch a movie. Okay, there's lots of good ones out there. Okay, Unbroken. Okay, especially for the middle schoolers. One's coming out tomorrow called Midway. I plan on going to that. Okay, 5:30 showing. Maybe I'll see you there. All right. The last thing you could do, if you don't like to read, if you're a little shy to talk to people, and you just don't want to watch a movie because it's too long, go to YouTube. Go to something like Armchair Historian or Weird History. Okay, these will tell you in an entertaining way things that the veterans have had to endure in the past. So I thank you so much for the invitation. I hope when you leave here, you realize how outstanding the administration is to put this all together today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Carruthers, and we will see you in May, because don't forget this will be our third 5K that involves the military. Now our favorite part, our Armed Forces Melody, and we ask that when your fight song, whether you're in the Army, the Marines, Navy, Coast Guard, or Air Force, that you please stand, and our National Junior Honor Society Student Council members have something for you. So stand when your fight song is being sung, and then we'll move on to the next song. Mr. Finley? United States Army. United States Marine Corps.
We are proud.
Coast Guard.
We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in Thee. To serve and storm and howling gale, I shall on purpose be. Semper Paratus is our God, our fame and glory too. To fight, to save, to fight and die, I was born, we are for you.
The United States Air Force.
Into the sun, here they come to meet our thunder. As the boys give the gun, down the eyes, passing our flame from under. Off on one terrible course, we live there with may nothing stop the U.S. Air Force.
And now Layla Mikowski will introduce our next one.
Battle Hymn of the Republic. We conclude our assembly with the Battle Hymn of the Republic. American poet Julia Ward Howe visited the Union Army encampment along the Potomac in November 1861. She heard a group of the soldiers singing John Brown's Body, their brisk marching melody, so she moved that she wrote the uplifting new words for the next day. Her Battle Hymn of the Republic first appeared in 1862 article in the Atlantic Monthly. The hymn quickly became a favorite rallying cry during the Civil War and ever since the March of the Civic Pride.
At this time, I'm going to just talk about how we're going to close this assembly. We do have an excellent video that's going to be last, and students, while this video is playing, it's probably going to be dismissal time, so we will dismiss you, but we ask that you dismiss quietly, because this is about 10 minutes, and it's about what it means to be a veteran to several of your student colleagues and other teachers and so on about Veterans Day. If your loved one is here or you're riding with them, then you certainly can stay and watch it. But we'll dismiss you. So at this time, I'm going to ask that the Armed Forces J. Coleman VFW Color Guard please retreat the colors. Please rise. Okay, you may be seated. So while we finish first, thank you, Color Guard, our local VFW, and auxiliary for being here today. Thank you, Ms. Shack, Mr. Finley, Mrs. Apiclo, great job, band, and great job, choir. And thank you to our speakers today, E5 Gunner Mate 2nd Class, Raymond Sigourney, and Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey A. Carruthers. So we are going to start this video. Like I said, it lasts about 10 minutes. Fourth grade, we're going to dismiss you first, but wait till we dismiss you, and then we'll do the outside rows. And as you're dismissing, please respect so people can watch this video. Go ahead, Mr. Burkmeyer.
What does Veterans Day mean to you?
Veterans Day means to me a chance to honor those that are currently serving or have served, kind of in conjunction with Memorial Day, those that gave the ultimate sacrifice of their life so that we could continue to live in the best country in the world and have our freedoms to do whatever we want and not have government dictate everything to us. So Veterans Day is extremely important because of without them and without them putting their life on the line, we wouldn't have those freedoms.
Why is it important for our school to celebrate it, and why do we have an assembly for it?
We have assembly for Veterans Day because, and not in the community of Richmond, but I think in society, sometimes our veterans get forgotten, get lost in the shuffle. And I think it's important for us as educators and kids to realize why there's a Veterans Day, to thank veterans, and just so do our part in thanking them and honoring them for the sacrifices they gave. Because even those that don't give their life, I mean, a lot of they sacrifice time with their family when they're off on tour and away from their families. So that's why we celebrate it.
Do you have any family members that have served or is currently serving?
Currently serving, no. My father is a Vietnam veteran, and he's still alive. So he was in the Air Force. And then my grandpa, my Uncle Pat, and my Uncle Raymond were all in World War II. My Uncle Pat was he was a tank operator in the African battle in the continent of Africa in the theater. And then my Uncle Raymond was a combat soldier. He was in France. And then my grandpa was in Pearl Harbor.
Okay, so what is Veterans Day to you?
a day to say thank you to all the people that give us what we have.
Do you know anyone that is a veteran that serves or has served?
Yes, I've had, all 3 of my children are currently in service. I have a nephew that's currently in the service, and 2 other nephews that were in the Navy. And in my family, when we do the flags on the wall, I have about 25 or 30 flags I put up for my family members that have served.
How is it like having that in your family?
We're proud. We believe that it's a duty to serve the country. In terms of my children, I couldn't be more proud.
What is Veterans Day to you?
So Veterans Day to me is a chance to think about all the people that have served and just reflect on, how lucky we are in our country and how grateful I am to those that have served in all areas.
Do you know anyone that served or is serving?
So my father-in-law was in the Air Force, and he has some incredible pictures from Vietnam, and so we always are asking him about that, and getting more information. And then he lives in Virginia, which is right by a huge military base, naval base, Air Force base, and he actually went back and worked on the Air Force base as just a civilian. So that whole area is just really full of a lot of people that have served, and it's kind of nice to go there and witness it. Yeah.
Why is it important to you?
So it's important to me, obviously, to honor my father-in-law and everyone that has served, but also my cousin. He was 3 years younger than me, and he was in the Army, and he suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. And unfortunately, he took his life due to, his issues. And so I always, of course, think about him because he saw way too much, and it was really hard for him to get through. So that's kind of, too, for the Memorial Day, why we're really, I always do the 5K and make sure that, students take part in that because it's just always kind of special to me for that reason. So,
what does Veterans Day mean to you?
It means that you could give honor to the people who served in the military or army. To me,
Riley?
Means giving back to the people who served for our country, made our country a good place by fighting for us.
Okay, what is Veterans Day to you?
Veterans Day to me is where we give thanks to the people that have died in the war.
Veterans Day to me means where we celebrate our uncle who is in the Navy.
Okay.
Veterans Day to me means a lot because most of my family was in the military, and my dad retired from the Air Force about 8 years ago.
A lot to me.
Means a lot to you?
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Do you have a family member in the military?
My dad, he did do the work for a little bit, and he hurt his leg, then he didn't do it anymore.
My uncle's in the Navy right now. He's just on a base training in Hawaii.
Like I said, my dad and a lot of my family my dad was in the Air Force, my grandpa, a bunch of my uncles were, and a bunch of my uncles were in the Army.
My great-grandpa and my grandpa.
Okay. Why is Veterans Day important to you?
Because we all celebrate the people that died in the war for us and give thanks to them.
Yeah. Same for me. It helps me give thanks to my uncle and everybody else who died in the war.
Same with me. I just like to celebrate it because I like to celebrate people that have died in the war and before this day.
Because my papa and my grandpa were in the war.
Do you guys have any family in the military? If so, who?
I have a couple. I have
my cousin, my uncle, and then another uncle.
I have my grandpa in the Army.
I have my uncle, 2 of my grandpas.
Do you have anyone in the military that has served or is serving?
My great-grandpa and someone else. Well, he used to.
Why is Veterans Day important to you?
My grandpa has carried on a legacy for many years, and a couple of my ancestors have been in many wars. My grandpa has been in many wars, and he is still carrying on and still alive.
Thank you, veterans.
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 Thank you, veterans. Thank you, veterans.
Thank you, veterans.
Thank you, veterans.
I haven't been myself recently.
I suffer, with PTSD.
It just won't go away for a long time.
I hope that you think twice about what you are doing to this nation's veterans who are willing to die to protect this nation.
If the Army asked me to go again, to be deployed again, I would absolutely go.
I may give out, but I never give up.
Now that you ought to be extremely proud if those were grandkids, nieces, cousins, and kids of yours. Excellent audience today to give the veterans here the respect they deserve. They were fantastic for 4th graders to 8th graders. I want to thank you everyone for coming, and everyone in school will watch this 10-minute video of where students say what it means to be a veteran. So thanks for coming.